This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So let's continue our discussion today. Yesterday we have done with the introduction to Ansible, and the second thing what we have done is configuring the Ansible master node and clients. Everything is now ready, right? Now before we can proceed with Ansible commands and other things, we need to understand some important configurations and important components related to Ansible. First, and the very important component over here is Ansible configuration file. See, for any software or any important concept, configuration file is very important. We have learned HTTP, FTP, NFS, or DNS. In all these, you have seen that configuration file is really critical. So on the master node, when you say Ansible hyphen hyphen version, you'll come to know that there is a configuration file related to Ansible, which is kept in etc ansible ansible.cfg. So according to the settings, what we do in Ansible configuration, according to this, your Ansible software or Ansible tool will work. Most of the important things are kept in this configuration file. So what it does, it defines various default values that can be used in Ansible. But almost all default values can be overwritten through Ansible ad hoc commands. See, what happens is, what is the meaning of default? Default means if you don't do any customization, this is what it is going to follow, isn't it? So all the default things will mention in configuration file. But anytime if you want to do something different, then you can do it easily. You can override all the patterns, all the things, whatever you have mentioned in the configuration file while simply running a command. Why we said default? Because every time we don't have to do that thing. If we go with only one way, we'll always follow the default. But sometimes we need a different things to be done. Then we can override those default changes into the command line what we are going to use. So basically the configuration file will be holding various default options to be used when we work with Ansible. But remember this point that all that default values can be overwritten, and you can work as you want. Then Ansible inventory, the second important thing. Ansible inventory is nothing but the list of hosts that you want to connect and you want to perform the task. Like yesterday, we created one master and 4 hosts. So we need to prepare the list of that host. You remember in etc host, we mentioned the names and all. Same like that, there is an inventory file. So this inventory file, you can store all the machines addresses to which you are going to perform the activity. For instance, we have 4 hosts. So all 4 host information should be kept in that configuration file, that is inventory file. Now the beauty of inventory file is you can put the list of hosts just as the name of the hosts, or you can group them. Suppose I have 50 machines. Now I don't want it to put all 50 as it is. Maybe in 50, 10 machines are working under production environment, 10 machines are working in development environment, 10 machines are working in staging, and 10 machines are working in testing environment, like that. So what we can do, that 50 machines, you can group them into different groups. So whenever you want to do a task on only production machines, there is a group. production available for you. So only that environment you are going to perform this task, right? Or if you are trying to do a task on development machines, then you can only go with development groups. So you can classify the list of machines into groups. You can put it ungrouped as a plain name, or you can put it in the form of groups, the way you want to work with. Then we have Ansible modules. See, modules are actually small Python programs which is designed to execute tasks on Ansible manage hosts. For example, you wanted to create a user. So there will be a module called user. By using that user module, you can perform user operations on your clients. Maybe you wanted to install a software. So suppose there will be a module called yum or DNF module. So using that module, you can perform all software management tasks on the client side. Maybe you want to start or stop a services. So there will be a service module. Maybe you want to schedule a task. So there will be a cron module, right? So whatever tasks that we can perform on the client side requires a set of program which is called as module. So whatever we want to perform on the client, there is a specific module available. By using that module, we can perform any task we want to perform, right? So basically, these modules are written in Python programming. We don't have to necessarily know Python program. It's just to mention that Python is used. That's it. Then we have Ansible variables. See guys, variable, yesterday while working with for loop, I showed you a small example that we stored some values in a name. I said for I in some names. So I created a variable called I. So I is variable storing some data. Whenever I call the variable, the data inside it will also be called out. So this is what happens when you go with variable. Variable stores set of data. So in Ansible, we have some variables, Ansible defined variables, or we can also define custom variables. But these variables are very important. Using them, we can do different concepts in a playbook. We'll talk about playbook in a while. Then you have Ansible facts. See, facts are nothing but the information about your host. Sometimes it is important to gather the information about the client before we can do any task on it. For example, you wanted to create a partition. Now you can just go blindly and create a partition? Absolutely not. You should check whether a hard disk has space left or not, or how many partitions are already created. Can I create one more partition or not? Right? So before we can operate a task on the client, we will gather some information from the client, which is called as facts. Right? So facts are very important in few situations. For example, you wanted to create a user. Now what happens is in Ubuntu machines, there might be a different command called add user. And in Red Hat or CentOS or others, we have user add command. Now, if you create a user in Ubuntu with user add command, it won't work perfectly. In Ubuntu, you have to create a user with the name add user. So don't you think before executing the command, I should gather the fact that client is Ubuntu or CentOS or other family so that according to OS, I can perform a task. Same way, on Windows machine, you might do a different task. On Linux machine, you might do a different task. So anyway, I'm just telling that we are not going to work with Windows, but anyway, I'm just telling you that we have to collect the information before we can execute some important tasks on the client side. Then you have Ansible plays. Now guys, plays are nothing but tasks what you want to perform on the client side. Maybe you want to create a user. So in a play, you will write create a user. Then what should be the name of the user? Then what should be the user ID? what password you want to assign. So all these set of things we will mention in a play. So play is nothing but a collection of tasks that you want to perform. For example, creating user, assigning password. This is one set of play, right? And these plays are written in a special language called YAML, which we are going to learn, if not in great detail, but at least how to use it in Ansible. We are definitely going to work. YAML is a wonderful language. YAML, most people pronounce it as yet another markup language, but actually YAML doesn't stands for markup language. It is YAML ain't markup language. The full form is YAML ain't markup language. Normally, guys, markup language is used to create configuration files like XML, HTML. It has open tag, close tag, these, that, lots of things are there, right? So YAML breaks that concept and it makes making the configuration simple. Then we have Ansible Playbook. Playbooks are nothing but collection of plays. Suppose you wanted to create a user, one play you will write. Then after that, you wanted to install a software, another play you will write. After that, you want to start one service, right? So one more play you will write. After that, you wanted to add something in firewall. So one more play you will write. So in a file where you add multiple tasks to be performed in the form of plays, that file will be called as playbook. Playbook is nothing but collection of plays that has to be performed on a client machine, right? Fine. Now see, we will find out what is the hierarchy of Ansible configuration file. Whenever you are running an Ansible command, first of all, in your current working directory, Ansible will check, do I have a file with the name ansible.cfg or not? So you see, as of now, in my setup, I don't have any Ansible configuration file. If I create ansible.cfg file here, first my Ansible software will read that file and according to that it will work. If in my current directory I don't have ansible.cfg, then it will check in my home directory. If I'm working as root, in root's home directory. If I'm working as a normal user, in normal user's home directory. That tilt symbol represents home directory. So in the home directory, it will check, do I have .ansible, a hidden file? So you see I'm root and I'm in slash root. Now if I say ls-a, there is a folder available .ansible, but actually there is no ansible.cfg file available here, right? So if there is .ansible.cfg file available, then it will look out for that file to obey. First, it will check in the current location, do I have Ansible CFG? If it is not there, then it will go to user's home directory and look in user's home directory, do I have .ansible.cfg? If it is there, it will obey that file. If no such files are created, then finally it will go to default configuration file, that is etc ansible ansible.cfg. So guys, what did you understood with that? See, with this, we can come to a conclusion that with respect to every user in the system, you can have a different Ansible configuration file. If a user has not created any Ansible configuration files at all, then finally it is going to work with default configuration file. And where is the default config file? etc ansible ansible.cfg. So anywhere you like, you can create Ansible CFG, and from there you can perform Ansible task. If not, just create a hidden file in home directory and it will start working with that configuration file. If no such files are created, then always finally it is going to work with the default config file. So every user can have a different configuration file, right? That's the bottom line. Okay, now we'll do one testing things. We'll create one user with the name Ansible and I will log in as that user and we'll try to create some configuration files. Okay, so let me first add a user. So I'll say user add Ansible. Now guys, I want to assign a password to Ansible user. How to assign password? You say password Ansible and two times it will ask for password. Now there is a shortcut guys to assign a password in single line, which I didn't show you and in Linux administration because at that time I want you to concentrate on password command simply. See, if you want to assign a password in a single line, then you can go with a command called echo red. What happens when you say echo red? It prints red or whatever password you want, right? Now I'll say echo red and then you have to give pipe and say password for Ansible user to be taken from standard input. See guys, standard input is nothing but whatever echo is producing. When you say echo red, it is producing the output. So what I'm doing, the output of echo command, I am giving to password command. So when you say password ansible hyphen hyphen standard in, then what it do is it takes red as a password and two times automatically it will type. We don't have to type it twice. So in a single line, if you want to assign a password, this is a way. In scripting, this type of method only we will follow because script cannot type two times password command, right? So in a single line, if you want to assign password, this is the method. So you see, it says password changed. It did not ask me two times to type that password, isn't it? Now you just check it out. ID Ansible. The user got created, right? You can say password hyphen s Ansible. Sorry, capital S. So you see password is also set. Good. Now let me convert myself into Ansible user. Who am I? Ansible. Where am I? In home Ansible. That is the home directory of Ansible user. Now here, if I run the command Ansible hyphen hyphen version, you see, so far as of now, it is following the default configuration file only, which is etc ansible ansible.cfg. Now, what I can do is to set Ansible configuration file. Maybe I don't want it to go with default config file. I want to go with some other config file. So in this scenario, we can do an experiment. In my current home directory or wherever I am, I'll create a config file, ansible.cfg and .ansible.cfg. One is open file and the other one is hidden file. You know, dot means a hidden file. So wherever you want, you can create the first file, but I'm just creating here only. I'll say touch ansible.cfg, and as I'm already in the home directory, I'll use .ansible.cfg. Okay, now I can also create a file in TMP. I'm sorry, I have to start with that. Let's say I'll create a file in TMP with the name ansible.cfg. So we have created three files. First file is in TMP with the name ansible.cfg. Second file I created, for example, in my home directory, and one more file I have created as a hidden file, right? Now I will export a variable ansible.cfg and I'll set the configuration file to tmp ansible.cfg, right? So let me go for it. I'll say export ansible underscore config. So guys, this is also a method of setting a variable. Whenever you want to set a variable, this is also a method. When you use export ansible.cfg, this variable will be accessible throughout your system. So anyway, I don't want it to be used throughout the system, but I want to set it here. And I'm setting tmp ansible.cfg as a configuration file. Now, you run the command Ansible hyphen hyphen version. Did you see that Ansible will now try to listen tmp.ansible.cfg? So what it is going to do here is always it is going to listen to the configuration file that is present in TMP folder because you have set that variable, you have forced it, you told Ansible that you have to listen to that configuration file. Now let me remove that file. I'll say rm-f, remove the file from TMP whose name is ansible.cfg. Now you run ansible hyphen hyphen version. As soon as you removed it, you see the next file it is going is in your current location. It is checking in your home folder or in your current location. There is a configuration file ansible.cfg which it is going to obey. Now, if I remove this ansible.cfg also, I'll say rm-f ansible.cfg. But you see, I have a hidden file ansible.cfg with a dot. Now, if you go with Ansible hyphen hyphen version, you will see that now it is going to obey that hidden file. So first it is going to obey the file what you have set as a variable. If it is not available, it will look into your current location. In your current location, if there is ansible.cfg, it will listen to that, right? If that is also not available, then it is going to go with .ansible.cfg. If I remove that also .ansible.cfg, now you go with Ansible version, it is going to work. See, there is no customized file available. So automatically it is go and listen to your default configuration file. So default configuration file will always come into the picture if there is no customized file is created. If you create a customized file, export the variable, it will work with that. If it is not there in the current location, if there is a ansible.cfg, it will work with that. Even if it is not there in the home directory, if there is a hidden file, it will start working with that. If none of the customized file is available, then lastly, it is going to work with your default configuration file, right? Fine. Now, when you go and view Ansible default config file, you will find that there are some default attributes which are set. For example, let me come out of Ansible user because etc file can only be viewed by root type of users. So I'll go to more etc Ansible ansible.cfg. Now in this file, you can see that there is a default tab. So these are the default directives or default options that have been set. But before that, if you read the above line, what it says nearly all parameters can be overridden in Ansible playbook or with command line flag. So you can do that. And you see, you can also keep Ansible config variable. So it is telling you that where these files will be checked. The same thing what I have explained you. So what are the default values? Few of them. The default inventory file is etc ansible hosts. So what it does, every time any client you are asking it to work with, it is going to check in this file what is the name you have mentioned. For example, you told go and perform the task on mhost3. So it will check whether the name mhost3 is available in the configuration file or not. If that name is available, we'll get to work with. If that name is not available, then we will not be able to work with. Then you see it is also going to go with some option called folks. 5 folks at a time. See, folks are nothing but at a time how many tasks you want to perform. For example, I wanted to go for 5 machines at a time and perform the task. So by default, whenever you run Ansible, if there are 15 machines, it will work in a set of 5. First, it will perform the task in first 5, then it will go to next 5, then it will go to next five. So five machines it is going to fork and perform the task. Now anyway, this default value you can increase, decrease as per your requirement. You just need to uncomment it. What you need to do is you just need to come up over here. It is commented, uncomment it, and change the value, whatever you want, right? Same way while performing the task, which user you want to use on the client side. So obviously we will be needing sudo access. So I'll be turning myself into root and performing that task, right? And there are other things also what we can do with that. So over the period of time we are going to work with and we are going to understand all these concepts. There are many defaults which have been set. Okay, many options are there. Whatever you want, you can go and perform that tasks on the client side. All right. So these are the things what defaultly available, right? Now let's try to work with Ansible inventories. So as I told you, you can create your Ansible configuration file whenever you want. If you want to create a custom Ansible config file anywhere in the system, maybe in TMP, maybe in your home directory, maybe hidden format, whatever, we will put these values at least defaults tab, which inventory to listen, which user you want to use for connectivity. Privilege escalation means whenever you want to perform the task, you want to convert yourself to other user, which user you want to convert, how you want to convert, do you want it to ask for password or not. Many of the parameters are there. Slowly, steadily, all parameters we are going to learn. Now, let us try to talk about Ansible inventory. So our first exercise will be creating an inventory. See, you need to first perform the task. So whatever machines you are going to do work with, all that machine's information, you have to put it into inventory file. So inventory file is nothing but same to etc host, name and IP. That's it. Or at least you can put only names, or at least you can put IPs. So first thing, you should have a DNS. If you don't have DNS, at least you should have etc host updated. So you remember yesterday we have already updated etc host. Now I can use these names to resolve either full name or short names. Whatever names you like, you can call it. I prefer going with short name because it is easy to type it every time. So suppose if I'm targeting 4 clients, all these clients names or IP address, you can put in inventory any of them. You can put either the IP address or you can put the host name, whichever you like. There is no strict rule that only names should be mentioned or only IPs. It depends on you how you want to use. If in etc host there is no address available, then go with address. If etc host is already updated with addresses, then go with names. Or if you have DNS, no need to worry about etc host. If name is present in DNS, then just put it into inventory file. So you can go to your inventory file and you can put the names. Now again, you can use the default inventory file or you can create any file of your choice and you can make it as a inventory file. Now inventory file can be defined in 3 format. You can go with any format. Any format is nothing but a plain format. It's just name and IPs like how we have edited etc host. YAML has its own format, spacing and all we have to work with, or you can go with JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notification. So according to Java formulations, we have to put it. One of the complicated thing to work with anyway. All right. So we are going to go with a simple format, any format, which is used 99.9%. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to uh, our default host file. See what you can do in your configuration file is either you can put the machine names in an ungroup format, just the names, that's it. Or you can create a group. Like suppose I'm creating a group called my group, and in my group, I can mention the clients that I wanted to put. Basically, suppose you have a production group, so you can put all production machines in one group. So if you want to perform a task on all that machine, you just use the group name, right? Or if you have series of names, like in our case, it is mhost 1, mhost 2, mhost 3, mhost 4. I don't want to repeat the whole names again and again. So you can just say host and in bracket 3 colon 5. So colon here is treated as range. That means 3, 4, 5, like that, right? And one member can be part of multiple group. There is no problem that if I have type host one here, there is no rule that you should not put it in second group. One member can be part of multiple groups also. So anyway, in the coming time, we will learn how to make our customized inventory file. As of now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit our default configuration file. If you just observed here, let me take you back to default config file. What is the default inventory file? etc ansible host. As of now, I want to work with this only. So let me go to vim etc ansible host. Now this is a wonderful file, guys. It has some explanation. Anytime if you are confused, anyway, you will never be confused. It is very simple concept. If at all you are confused, then just go to this file and read it. It explains you everything better than anyone else. So it says that here comments begin with hash. That means it is just a comment. Blank lines are ignored. Groups of hosts are delimited by bracket. So you have to put that bracket and some name. So this denotes you are having a group name. You can either enter the host name or you can go with IP address. A host name or IP can be a member of multiple groups. The same thing what I have mentioned. Now you can put the name in two formats, ungrouped format or grouped format. Ungrouped format just need to start, put the host name, IP addresses, whatever is there. Group format, first within a square bracket, you have to mention a name that would be called as group. And inside it, you can mention either the names or IP address. And as I told you, if there is a range, you can use range like this, number colon second number. So that would be denoted as a range, right? So let us say that I wanted to create something like this. I want to create a group called my group, and inside it, I wanted to put the host name, right? Now we are going to modify it number of time. If you want, I'll just do it without a group first of all. Let us say I'll talk about mhost1, mhost2, mhost3, or mhost4. This is ungrouped. Okay, so I have mentioned four name. Now remember, I am putting these names because already etc host is updated, or maybe I am having a DNS server to resolve it. If you type any name whose DNS record is not there, or in etc host that name is not there, it will not work. In case if you don't have DNS, then or etc host, then put IP addresses. But better to put name, it would be good. You can put full name or small name, that is your choice. I'm going with small name. Now let me test it whether it will work or not. See, in Ansible, you can test the connectivity from other machines or the hosts by using ping option, ping module. Module is nothing but set of program that can execute a specific task on the client. So the format what we use is Ansible is the command. And then I have to say which module you want to execute. I'll say I want to execute ping module. I'm just checking the connectivity on which host, maybe mhost1. So Ansible will go to mhost1 and it will test the ping activity. Am I reachable to mhost1 or not? So you see it connected to mhost1. It says success. That means connectivity is fine. See, whenever you run ping command, it returns pong. So ping and pong both are successful. Communication is successful. And we are able to test that thing. Let us say I want to test the same thing on mhost2. I can do it like that. Now, same thing, maybe I want to test it on 4 hosts. So instead of typing the name individually, it is better to create a group, yes or no. So what I'll do now, I'll go to this file and over here in a square bracket, I'll mention a name as group, my group. Now all 4 machines, if I want to test it, I'll say Ansible using a ping module, go and perform the task on my group. So it will go to all that group and test out. Okay, let us say I want to test whether my group is valid or not. So you can say Ansible my group hyphen hyphen list hosts. So I am directing Ansible that check in my group how many hosts you are having. So when you run that, Ansible will read that host file. It will find whether there is my group existing or not. Yes, it is existing. So it has listed all the hosts that there are 4 hosts, mhost1, mhost2, mhost3, and mhost4. Now, if you want to perform this task on all the hosts, then you can say Ansible my group, or I'm sorry, hyphen m ping module I want to perform on my group. So you need to say that on which machine you wanted to perform this task, whatever task you wanted to perform. Okay, so you can mention the host name before hyphen m or after hyphen m. Both ways are correct. There is no good bad thing. If you want, you can say Ansible perform task on this and that. That way is also correct. Or you can say Ansible on my group using module, go for ping test. You see now it will go to each machine and try to perform a task for you, right? So it went to mhost1 successful, mhost2 successful, 3 successful, 4 successful. See, it never goes with order. It depends which machine is connecting faster. Sometimes mhost1 network is faster, so it will start with that. If it is taking time, it will go and perform the task on mhost2 and then come back to mhost1. So don't expect the same order all the time. Now let us say, guys, I don't want to see the full output. I want to see condensed output. So you can go with hyphen O. Hyphen O will summarize the output for us so that in a single line I may get my result instead of printing 3, 3, 4, 4 lines. So you see now it went to mhost1 first, then 4, then 3, then 2. So I told you order is not important. It automatically perform the task depending on availability. Observe the output. You can see that the output is condensed to one line. You are not seeing those three lines anymore. Now, same thing, you can do it in a different way also. For example, you can convert that group uh, in this way also. You can go to my group and you can say mhost1 colon 4. If you do like that, then what it is going to do, it is going to work with 1 to 4. Let's do it. I'll go to etc ansible ansible.cfg. Oh, I'm so sorry. We have to go to inventory. So Ansible hosts. Now, instead of typing all these 4 like that, you can say mhost in a bracket 1 colon 4. Now you say Ansible in my group list all the hosts. So you see it's working the same way. So if you have same series of name, using that range concept can reduce your burden. Very simply, you can mention 1 to 4 and automatically the same thing will be working out. Okay, now let's do some changes in the configuration file. Let's edit some defaults. So what I'll do here is I'll go to our config file. Where is the config file? etc ansible ansible.cfg. In this configuration file, let us change the fork value. At is now, guys, it is fork equals to 5. That means it is going to perform task at a time on 5 machines. Now you can increase or decrease depending on your value, but don't set it too high. Suppose you have set it to 50 or 60. Now guys, each task what is performing will be consuming some processor and memory. If you keep it too high, your master node memory and CPU will be highly utilized. So we have to take care of that. Anyway, on production environments, you may have a huge configuration, so you can set up to 100 also. But normally, if you set it 50, 60, and 50, 60 tasks are getting performed at a time, then it is going to consume hugely your CPU and memory. So be very careful while doing this. Always check the usage is going fine or not. Maybe on your Ansible master, some other tasks are also performing, they will get hampered. Anyway, I'm reducing it to 1. Now, when I perform the task on all the nodes, you see this time it is not going to go faster and print the output. It will go to each machine one at a time. On mhost 1 first, now it is going to mhost 2, then it will go to 3, then it will go to 4. So you see at a time on 4 machine it has not performed the task one after the other. So this will consume less CPU. First it will perform the task on 1 machine, after completion second, then third, then fourth. Process will be slow, but your master node CPU and memory will not be consumed too high. But again, if I go back and if I change it to 5, now you see what would be the result. It will go and perform the task on 4 machines at a time because 4 is under the range of 5. So all 4 will get same result at a time, right? So this is what the changes in the configuration will do. For example, let me just comment it back. See, for testing, I have made the change. I don't really want to change the default. Now, next thing, what I want to do is maybe for security reason, I am not using port number 22 on client side. Maybe I don't want port number 22 to work. Okay, so instead of port number 22, you have used some other port. Maybe we are using port number 2222. It happens on your production environments for security reason. You might not be using the default port number. So we will configure a personal configuration port in SSH config and we use this. So when you mention to use port number 2222, you see now when I try to perform the task, it will fail. Instead of going on all hosts, let me go with one host because anyway it is going to fail. Mhost 1. See, it says I'm not able to connect via SSH to port number 2222. So what it is trying to do, it is using SSH only, but it is trying to connect with port number 2222. So if in your environment you are using a customized ports on the client, then you can mention in the configuration which port number to use, right? Now, guys, you can use host variable concept also. See, what happens is, suppose I have 4 machines, mhost 1, mhost 2, mhost 3, mhost 4. Mhost 2 is the only host which is using port number 2222. All others are working on port number 22. Then guys, putting a default value is waste of time. If you go to config and you say all to be connected on 2222, where only one machine is working on custom port, all others are working on default port, then it will be a problem, isn't it? So what I'll do in that scenario, I'll go back to config file. I'll say that we have to connect with default port number 22 only. Every host, you can specifically say that this machine should be connected on so and so port number. First of all, let me go and do the ping test. Is it successful? Yes. Now I'm able to communicate. So I was telling you that suppose I have 4 hosts. Now I don't want all to connect on port number 22 or 222. Only one machine I wanted to connect on a customized port number. Just excuse me a moment. Okay, so as I was telling you, you can go to your uh, configuration file, and in the configuration file, explicitly you can say that I want this machine to be connect on so and so port number and so username. First we will do username experiment, then we will do host name experiment, or the port number experiment also. So suppose I want a machine that is mhost1 to be connected on specific port number. By default, all machines will be connected on port number 22. Only one machine I wanted to connect on a specific host, a specific port number, that is 222 or 4 times 2, whatever. So let me go to my host file over here. In this file, let me split out those names again. Okay, let me go with mhost2, mhost3, and mhost4. In fact, what we will do now is we will put 2 groups. My group is one group and my group 2 is second group. So in that mhost2, I want it to connect with a different user. So I'll pass a parameter called Ansible underscore user. I want it to connect with a user always called my user. So whenever Ansible is performing a task on mhost2, it will try to connect it with a username called my user. Let's see. I don't have any user with the name my user, so it is definitely going to fail. Anyway, I'll say Ansible on mhost2, you do a ping test. So you see it says permission denied because there is no such user with the name called my user. I don't have my user, or maybe I have not configured the concept of SSH keys between my user. So it obviously failed. We have configured passwordless login through root user. So always through root only it will communicate. If a different user you mention, it will connect with different user only. So if I go with all, for example, I'll say go with entire my group. You see one will fail and the other one will be successful. Because by default for connectivity in default file, I mentioned root user. So mhost1 tried to connect with root. We made an SSH passwordless login. It was successful. But my user, I did not do it. So mhost2 failed. So what I'm trying to show you is if a specific machine you want it to work with a special privilege, instead of putting that value in the main config file, you can put beside the host name. So whatever you have put, according to that it will work. One more experiment I'll do. You can put both at a time, but I'm putting just differently. I don't want that user. I say Ansible port to be connect is 2222. Now if you go with my group, you see mhost1 will be again successful because it will work with port number 22, whereas this port number 2222 failed on mhost2 because explicitly in host file I mentioned that it has to be connecting with port number 2222. If all machines are working in the same way, you can just put it as a default value in the config file. If only one or two machines are working in that way, then you have to put beside that machine. Now, what do we call passing such parameters beside the host name? This is called as host related variables or group related variables. So what you can do is you can put it for an individual host or you can put it for entire group. Like now I have my group 2. So in my group 2, I wanted to use a variable called Ansible user. So you have to pass the group variable in this format. After declaring the host names and groups, just below that group name, you have to again use square bracket, put the group name and mention colon vars. Now this is exactly the same thing you have to mention. You should not make any changes in that name after the group name. And below you have to mention what variable to set. So entire group, it is going to work with this fashion. Let me make the changes. I'll go back to my host file. Let me remove that Ansible port name. So suppose for my group 2, we want to do an group variable concept. So you have to declare here for my group 2. I'm making a spelling mistake. Okay. For my group 2, I want to set variables. What is the variable? Ansible underscore user or port number 2222. So the whole group is now being able to communicate with the port number 2222 only. So this is setting a group variable. Now if I go with my group, you see it will be successful because default values are there. Now if I go with my group 2, you see the result. It will fail because port number 2222 is not available. So you see mhost3 and mhost4 both failed, which is a part of my group 2. So like that, you can specify the options, use a host specific or group specific. Individual host, you can allow it to connect with different options, or individual group, you can allow it to connect with different options. Let me go back and remove that. I don't want any such thing to be coming into existence as of now, right? So setting such values are called as host and group variables. So host specific variables or group specific variables. Examples are mentioned in the manual. You can anyway go and do this practices. Now, one more thing you can do, you can organize all host and group variables at one place. So suppose for a specific group, you wanted to create a specific variables options. So what you can do, basically in etc Ansible file, you can create a folder hosts, and inside it, this file is important. You have to create a file with the name called hosts underscore vars, and there you have to create a file called mhost1. So what I'm trying to do is I'm setting that for mhost1, all the variables, all the options what I wanted to use is I'm mentioning over there. So create a file with the name hosts underscore var, mention the name of the host for which you are creating it, and put your variables. Same thing you can do it for a group also. Here you have created host underscore var. There you have to create group underscore vars followed by group name and put all the variables. Names are standard, you cannot change it. So you have to create a directory in Ansible folder with the name called hosts. And if it is host variable, go with host underscore vars. If it is group variable, group underscore vars. And after that, the file name should be either host name file or group name file, right? And guys, on web, we have docs.ansible.com. Never forget this location. It's a wonderful location to get knowledge how to use Ansible. Lots of things are there. Just if you visit docs.ansible.com, it gives you lots of literature to understand. Now, as I come into inventory, you see it is explaining host and group variables, host specific variable, group specific variable. Many options are available, how to use non-SSH connection types and all that. So this will explain us lots of information, how to make inventory files with host variable and other options also. Okay, all right, fine. Then the next thing what we have is Ansible modules. Now modules is definitely going to take a long time to study, and I don't want it to club today only. So for today, I want you to do these experiments, right? Play with host file, do lots of changes inside it, and try to understand the concept. Read the config file, host file, and try to do this exercise today. If you are done with that, then tomorrow's class will be very swift and easy to understand the concept, where we will understand modules. Each module we will try to go in detail. We'll try to learn how to find modules detail, how to execute them. Lots of things are there. And after that, we will learn ad hoc commands. This will be very interesting concept, how you are going to perform task on group of machines or individual machines, like reading files, creating some users, and creating some files. Many concepts we are going to learn in the same way, right? Many options are there what we are going to explore tomorrow. For today, we will stop here only. Did you understood the concepts, guys? Any doubts, any questions so far? Let me clear your doubts if you have any such thing. All right. Anyway, probably you may get doubts, definitely. But once you start working, so if you do some work, you'll definitely get some questions, and then I'll be here to help you out with that. Okay. Right. So do this labs, guys. Do labs regularly, and then let me know if you have any questions to get my help. So we'll stop here, guys. Let's meet up tomorrow and continue with more interesting features that we are going to unlock tomorrow. Thank you very much.